Marumakkathayam, even today, it's a very convoluted concept for
most people can't understand it.
It's even today, I'm like, it's supposed to be on the mother's side. So if you could, as a historian with a little bit more perspective than that, can you help me understand what Marumakkathayam is?
Marumakkathayam is not matriarchy. People often use it synonymously with matriarchy, but it's
matrilineal.
Lineal.
Yeah.
So it is through the woman's line. So to essentially explain through a simple analogy, a family does not comprise of a man, his wife, and his children. A family is a woman, her children, and her grandchildren through the daughters. So male and female members are all accepted, but they have to be born to a female member of the family, not to a male member of the family. So in the Travancore royal family, the Raja's son was never the heir. And the Raja's wife was not the queen. The Raja's sister or aunt or niece was the queen. Sethu Lakshmi Bai was the previous Maharaja's niece. And that's how the crown passed. And it was the nieces and the aunts and the sisters and the women in the family who produced the next generation of the royal family members. Whereas the Rajas or the male members' sons were not considered members of the family. And that's the case in ordinary families like ours also. To the extent that when my father passed away in 2019, we did have there was this conversation in the background as to whether his nephew should also participate in the funeral rites. Because traditionally, they are the ones who would burn or bring the flame to the fire. Whereas now, modern times, so the son gets to do it. But I remember father's case, I did it myself. But my grandfather's case, maternal grandfather, I did it. The other grandson, my cousin, he was also there. But a nephew also stood and he also did it. Because we were like, let's tick all the boxes. We are doing it out of emotional reasons. But for traditional reasons, since the sister's son has the higher claim, let him also be part of it. And it was the three of us who sort of lit the pyre. So in some ways it continues even now. Ritually it does continue. I have my father's surname, but I belong to my mother's family. If somebody asks me my Kula Devam, it is my mother's Kula Devam.
Correct.
If it's the caste or subcaste, it's my mother's side technically. Even though my father was a Pillai or whatever, it's my mother's side that matters.
Yeah, same here with my son also. Like as I said, my mother is from northern Kerala, which is where this whole matrilineal idea is still there. So my husband is his mother's family.
Correct. Yeah.
My son is my mother's family.
Yeah, exactly.
but then so it becomes a little, and from what I have understood, trying to explain that to somebody who has not been able to live through it is a little.
I'll tell you, my grandfather, I was at one point, I made a family tree. I was like researching my own ancestors and our histories. And I asked my grandfather, what were your parents' names? He told me his mother's name. He told me his father's name. Okay, what were your grandparents' names? So he told me his mother's parents' names. Then he came to his father and he was like, actually, I have no idea who my father's parents were. Like, especially the father's father, he has no clue. He has no clue who his paternal grandfather was. They knew Achan, they knew father who had come and married into the family, but they had and if they ever spoke about the father's father, they'd just say Appupan, father's father. They never actually asked what the man's name was. They had no idea what their father's name was. And then I asked my grandfather's sisters, I asked his brothers, everybody who's alive in that family asked, not a single one of them knows their own paternal grandfather's name. Not because he didn't exist or because there was something wrong there, but it was just that they knew him as Appupan and never bothered to find out which family he came from or what his actual formal name was. And that's how real Marumakkathayam can get for a lot of people. They may not even know who their father's father is. And at some point, even the father did not matter that much. It was the uncle who mattered more than the father.